So I want you to picture this scenario for a second. You've just finished like a completely grueling day at work.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
Right. The kind of day where your brain just feels entirely depleted. So you walk through the familiar glass doors into the lobby of your condominium building, give a tired nod to the security guard you see every single day, and you step into the elevator.
The standard evening routine.
Exactly. And as those steel doors slide shut, you look up and you see it. It's that standard, slightly glossy, super bureaucratic-looking piece of paper taped right next to the floor buttons.
Ah, yes. The AGM notice.
Yeah, the notice for the upcoming annual general meeting. And you scan it quickly. There's a date, a time, a really dense list of agenda bullet points in this tiny font, and a little QR code in the corner asking you to scan an RSVP via a Google form. It all just looks perfectly, almost comfortingly routine.
I mean, it is the ultimate form of administrative wallpaper, you know?
Administrative wallpaper. I like that.
Well, we just see these notices so often in communal living spaces that our brains immediately categorize them as just a condo admin. We completely tune them out. We operate under this baseline assumption that a professional management team or maybe the condo committee is just handling the heavy lifting.
Right. We assume the paperwork is just a formality, like the visual equivalent of elevator music.
Exactly.
But our core focus today is to thoroughly educate and empower you, the co-owner, and the resident. We want to use every piece of data from our sources so you understand exactly what your rights are. Because beneath that really mundane surface of normalcy on the elevator wall, a massive financial and legal storm might be brewing.
And it's a storm you really can't afford to ignore.
No, you can't. If you simply ignore that piece of paper because it feels tedious, that decision could literally siphon tens of thousands of baht directly out of your bank account.
Which is exactly why we're unpacking this specific situation today in this deep dive. We're examining a highly detailed, really legally complex environment that is currently unfolding at a property called the River Heaven condominium.
River Heaven. Okay, so paint a picture of this place for us.
So we're talking about a major residential community. It comprises 521 individual units.
Wow, that's huge.
It is. And they are gearing up for their AGM on July 26th, 2026. And the stakes for the people living there right now are extraordinarily high.
I want to set the parameters for this right away, though. The mission of this deep dive isn't to encourage you to grab a pitchfork or, start a protest in the lobby.
Right. Chaos doesn't solve structural problems.
Exactly. Our objective is strictly educational. We're going to analyze a deeply researched set of documents compiled by a fellow co-owner at River Heaven. This individual has spent over a month, trying to extract basic fundamental answers from the building management regarding 4 glaring legal and financial discrepancies.
And the response they've received so far has just been absolute silence.
Which is wild to me.
It is, but that silence from management is precisely why understanding the mechanics of condominium law is so critical for any property owner.
Yeah, you have to know the rules of the game.
Exactly. When you reside in a condominium, questioning a management company is not an act of hostility. You aren't causing trouble.
Right.
You are exercising a fundamental legally protected right to ensure corporate transparency and to protect a major financial asset.
Let's dig into that dynamic right away, actually, because there's this common misconception about who actually holds the power in a condo building. I feel like people often view the management company as the landlord.
Oh, absolutely. And that is a critical error in perspective.
How so?
Well, to understand everything happening at River Heaven, we first have to separate 2 legal concepts. We have the juristic person and we have the management company.
Okay, break those down for me.
In Thai property law, when a condominium is registered, it creates a juristic person. That is the legal entity belonging entirely to the co-owners.
So all 521 unit owners at River Heaven collectively make up this entity.
Precisely. The management company, on the other hand, is merely a third-party vendor.
A vendor, like a contractor.
Exactly. They are contractors hired by the juristic person to mop the floors, fix the elevators, and, handle administrative paperwork. The management company works for you.
Okay, that reframes the entire power dynamic.
Yeah.
It makes the silence from this vendor incredibly arrogant, frankly.
Right. When a vendor ignores inquiries from their employer regarding legal compliance, it is a massive failure of corporate governance.
Reading through these sources, ignoring their behavior feels like ignoring a structural crack in your ceiling just because you don't want to deal with the dust of fixing it.
A structural crack is the perfect analogy for the very first issue raised in these documents.
Okay, let's get into it. What's the crack?
We are looking at a situation stemming from the building's previous annual general meeting. According to the source material, the Bangkok Land Office, which, is the primary government authority overseeing real estate and property law in Thailand, they actually conducted an official investigation into River Heaven's last AGM.
And the land office didn't just casually look into it, right?
Yeah, they did.
They issued a formal, binding ruling stating that the delivery of the meeting invitations for that past AGM actively violated the Condominium Act.
They did. And we really need to break down the mechanics of why a bureaucratic process like mailing an invitation holds so much legal weight.
Yeah, because to a layperson, it sounds like a trivial technicality, like, oh, someone used the wrong address format or they missed a postage deadline. So what?
Right. But in corporate and property law, the formal notice of a meeting is the absolute bedrock of legal jurisdiction.
Okay, wait. How does an invitation equal jurisdiction?
It comes down to the mathematical concept of a quorum.
A quorum?
Yes. Under the Thai Condominium Act, an AGM can only make legally binding decisions if a specific percentage of the total co-ownership is present or represented by proxy.
And that's usually calculated based on the total square meters of the building, right?
Correct. Every single decision, approving a budget, electing a committee, or levying a new fee, it all requires that quorum to be legitimate.
So the quorum is the threshold that turns like a casual gathering of neighbors into a recognized legislative body.
Exactly. Now consider the mechanics of the invitation. If the management fails to properly deliver the legal notices to all owners, according to the strict guidelines of the Condominium Act, they are structurally corrupting the quorum.
I see where this is going.
Yeah. If 20 owners never receive legal notice, those 20 owners are completely disenfranchised. They were deprived of their legal right to attend, to debate, and to vote.
And if they had attended, their square footage might have fundamentally altered the quorum calculation.
Exactly. Or their votes might have swung a major financial resolution in the completely opposite direction.
So because the input was compromised, the entire mathematical output of the meeting is basically invalid.
That's it. You can't say a majority voted for something if a chunk of the electorate was legally locked out of the room due to administrative negligence.
Wow. And that is why the land office steps in.
Yes. When the foundation of the meeting is mathematically and legally flawed, the meeting is contaminated. The Bangkok Land Office ruling essentially means that every single vote taken in that room, every resolution passed, and every financial assessment levied against the owners can be voided.
Just totally wiped out.
Right, because the decisions hold no legal weight since the room itself was not legally assembled.
Okay, so if the land office already flagged this specific critical failure in the jurisdiction of the last meeting, the most urgent question for the residents of River Heaven right now is, has this underlying structural failure been resolved before the upcoming July 26th meeting?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. Are they about to walk into another voided room?
Well, the co-owner who compiled this document has been asking that exact question. They want to know if the management has fixed the registry system that the government already declared broken.
Because if that system hasn't been rectified, any new resolutions made on July 26th are instantly vulnerable to the exact same legal challenge.
Precisely. Which brings us to the supposed solution the management implemented. And frankly, this is where the logic starts to completely unravel.
Yeah, looking at the sources, this part is wild. The sources indicate that the management did actually acknowledge the database issue, and they requested funds to fix it.
Right. According to discussions and inquiries raised with the building manager, the management company requested a budget of approximately 30,000 Thai baht from the condominium's common fund.
Okay.
And the explicitly stated purpose of this budget was to coordinate directly with the Department of Lands. The goal was to pay the necessary administrative fees to officially update the master resident registry.
So they wanted to secure the ironclad government-certified data regarding who legally owns every single unit.
Exactly.
But hold on, I want to challenge this for a second. If we're looking at a massive 521-unit complex, 30,000 baht is essentially, what, 50 or 60 baht per unit?
Roughly, yeah.
In the context of a building that likely has a multi-million baht annual operating budget, that is absolute pocket change. Why is this co-owner spending over a month fighting a protracted battle over what amounts to a rounding error?
Because it is not about the amount of money. It's about the precedent of unaudited common funds and a deeply baffling operational contradiction.
A breach of procedure.
A huge breach. While 30,000 BAT might be a small fraction of the total budget, the co-owners have every right to demand the disbursement reports. They filed a formal request asking management to simply show the receipt from the land office proving the transaction occurred and the data was secured.
Just show the receipt.
Right, but the management has completely ignored that request.
And so they took the money for a specific government service, but they refused to prove they actually purchased the service. That is highly suspicious.
It is, but the true operational contradiction here is even stranger.
The Google form thing.
Yes. It is genuinely baffling. At the exact same time, the management is allegedly spending this 30,000 baht to obtain secure, encrypted, legally binding registry data from the government, they are plastering QR codes all across the condominium lobby.
Like the one we talked about in the elevator.
Exactly. These QR codes direct residents to a free, publicly accessible Google form asking them to type in their personal details, unit numbers, and contact information to, quote-unquote, verify their identity for the upcoming AGM.
That makes zero logical sense. It is like spending 30,000 baht to install a state-of-the-art biometric steel vault door on your bank, but then leaving a stack of Post-it notes on the front door that says, please write down your name, your account number, and just take whatever cash you feel belongs to you.
That is a terrifying, accurate analogy.
I mean, why rely on an unverified internet form if you just paid the government for the definitive legal list?
The redundancy is a massive red flag, but the methodology itself introduces an entirely new layer of catastrophic risk. We need to evaluate this through the lens of the Personal Data Protection Act, or the PDPA.
Yes, let's unpack the mechanics of that, because PDPA compliance is a major legal requirement in Thailand now. How does a simple Google form violate that?
Well, consider the architecture of a standard Google form. It is a basic web survey tool designed for informal data collection.
Like picking a lunch spot for the office.
Exactly. It features zero strict identity verification mechanisms. It lacks any API integration with a national ID database or a secure municipal registry.
Meaning there's no digital handshake happening in the background to confirm that the person typing on their phone is actually the person they claim to be.
None whatsoever. Anyone who gains access to that lobby, a food delivery rider, a visiting guest, a disgruntled former tenant, or even just a malicious actor who takes a photo of the QR code can scan it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They can type in a random name, claim ownership of a premium penthouse unit, input a fake email address, and hit submit. The system has no capacity to challenge them.
So the management is basically crowdsourcing the foundational legal document of the entire condominium on a platform that has no defense against data spoofing.
Yes. And the legal implications are severe. If you base your official statutory meeting invitations on a compromised, unverified Google form database, you are immediately recreating the exact same jurisdictional failure that the land office penalized you for in the first place.
You guarantee that legal notices will be sent to fraudulent addresses while legitimate owners are bypassed.
Precisely. Furthermore, under the PDPA, the juristic person, meaning all the co-owners, can be held legally liable for collecting and storing sensitive personal information without implementing adequate security protocols to protect it from unauthorized access or alteration.
So it's an operational failure masquerading as an administrative update. They're just trading a known legal flaw for a massive new liability.
That's exactly what they're doing.
And the fallout from these botched administrative processes isn't just like a theoretical debate for a courtroom. Because these disputed debts from the voided meeting are artificially inflating everyone's ledger right now, we really have to look at what is happening to the residents today. This is where the bureaucratic abstract turns into a very real financial hostage situation.
This is perhaps the most urgent crisis detailed in the source documents. The administrative chaos has materialized into a direct attack on the property rights of the residents.
Okay, tell me about the numbers.
According to the co-owners report, approximately 80% of the units at River Heaven currently have an outstanding debt listed on the juristic person's internal accounting system.
80%.
Yes.
That is an overwhelming majority of the building. And we aren't talking about people simply forgetting to pay their standard monthly water bills, are we?
No, absolutely not. The vast majority of this outstanding debt is tied directly to the disputed expenses and special assessments that were voted on during that previous contested AGM.
The very same AGM that the Bangkok Land Office ruled was improperly convened.
The exact same one.
So the government authority declares the foundation of the meeting structurally invalid, yet the management company is still actively enforcing the financial resolutions passed during that invalid meeting. They are still demanding the money.
They are keeping those disputed charges firmly on the official books.
That is insane.
It is. And to understand the gravity of this, we need to dive deeply into the mechanics of property transfer in Thailand, specifically focusing on a document called the Bai Plod Ni, or the debt-free certificate.
Right, the Bai Plod Ni. I know this document is essential for anyone buying or selling condo property, but how does it mechanically function at the land office? Like, why is it such a big deal?
Well, the Thai Condominium Act mandates that no unit can be legally transferred without this specific certificate. When you go to the land office to execute a sale, transfer a title deed to a family member, or even register a significant mortgage change, the land officer will demand the original Bai Plod Ni.
Okay, and who issues it?
This document is issued solely by the condominium's juristic person, and it certifies to the government that the specific unit carries zero outstanding debts to the common fund.
The mechanical purpose makes perfect sense, honestly. It's a safeguard.
It is.
It ensures a malicious seller can't simply drain resources, refuse to pay their share of the elevator maintenance and security guards for 3 years, and then just skip town, leaving the rest of the honest neighbors to absorb their unpaid bills.
The intention behind the law is excellent community protection. However, the execution at River Heaven has morphed this safeguard into an absolute weapon.
How so?
Because the management refuses to clear the disputed debts generated by the legally contested AGM from their accounting software, 80% of the building is automatically disqualified from receiving a debt-free certificate.
Wait, so if the computer shows a balance of even 1 baht, the management withholds the certificate?
Exactly. The management looks at the ledger, they see the outstanding balance from the disputed resolutions, and they just refuse to issue the Bai Plod Ni.
So 80% of the residents are legally paralyzed. They're entirely stripped of their fundamental right to liquidate or transfer their own multi-million baht assets.
Yes.
It's like the condo management has clamped a heavy-duty steel boot onto the tire of your car, and they absolutely refuse to unlock it because of a 50 baht parking ticket that the local Supreme Court already declared invalid.
That's brilliant. That is exactly what is happening. The severity of using a legally disputed debt to enforce an asset freeze just cannot be overstated. It traps residents in an agonizing limbo.
Give me a real-world example of how this plays out.
Well, imagine a co-owner who experiences a sudden medical emergency or a severe loss of income or an unexpected job relocation.
Right, life happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They urgently need to sell their condo to access their capital. They even have a willing buyer lined up. But the transaction is killed at the land office because the management company is holding their title hostage over a disputed administrative fee from a voided meeting.
That is an aggressive escalation of power by a vendor against their employers.
It is. It's incredibly stressful to be held hostage by a line item on a ledger.
But as we transition to the upcoming July 26th meeting, we see that those numbers on the ledger aren't just sitting idle, are they?
Oh no, not at all.
Because these disputed debts haven't been cleared, we have to look at what happens when the management attempts to pass a new budget next month. Those numbers are about to trigger a massive, compounding financial avalanche.
This is the critical juncture where administrative negligence meets direct financial damage. Let's examine the agenda for the upcoming annual general meeting. Included in the items for a vote is a proposal for a special collection.
Meaning an extra financial assessment levied against the owners, above and beyond the standard common fees they already pay for basic upkeep.
Correct. Now, sometimes special collections are legitimate. For example, replacing a failing roof or upgrading a severely outdated fire suppression system.
Things the building actually needs to survive.
Right. But here, the math becomes incredibly dangerous because the slate has not been wiped clean. The old, legally disputed debts from the previous AGM are still sitting on the residents' accounts, accumulating monthly late fees and interest.
So if a new special collection is approved on July 26th, it doesn't replace the old debt. It stacks directly on top of it, creating a compound effect.
Exactly.
Let's walk through the exact mathematical projections provided in the source material, because this is where the listener needs to understand the true scale of the threat.
Let's start with a baseline scenario. Consider a standard mid-size unit at River Heaven, roughly 60 square meters.
Okay, 60 square meters.
The original disputed debt left over from the contested meeting might be hovering around 5,000 to 6,000 Thai baht.
It is frustrating, certainly. but perhaps a sum a resident might reluctantly pay just to make the headache go away, right?
Right. A lot of people might just bite the bullet. But once you stack the new proposed special collection on top of that baseline,
What happened?
according to the projections in the document, for that 60 square meter unit, the combined compounding debt would suddenly rocket to approximately 12,000 THB. It essentially doubles overnight.
12,000 baht is a significant unbudgeted expense for an average household. But condominiums calculate fees based on the size of the property you own. So what happens to the owners of the larger units?
The multiplication curve becomes incredibly steep. As you said, common fees and special assessments are calculated on a per square meter basis. So if we look at a large 100 square meter family unit, we are no longer talking about a minor inconvenience.
No.
The compounding effect of the old disputed charges, the accumulated late fees, and the new aggressive special collection could propel that resident's sudden debt to 50,000 THB.
50,000?
Yes. And in some scenarios outlined in the research, it could even touch 100,000 THB.
100,000 baht. That is a devastating financial blow, manufactured entirely by an administrative snowball effect. We really need to pause and deeply explain the mechanics of an AGM vote here, because I feel like many people treat these meetings like a casual town hall or a neighborhood suggestion box.
Yeah, absolutely do.
They think if they don't attend, it doesn't apply to them.
And that is the most dangerous misconception in condominium ownership. An AGM is not a town hall. It is a corporate legislative session. Every vote taken in that room acts as a localized law that binds the entire juristic person.
Walk us through the exact mechanism of how that vote transforms into a legal contract.
Okay. Once a quorum is established, assuming the registry and invitations are legally sound, which, as we know, is heavily disputed here, the floor opens for voting. If a resolution for a massive special collection receives the required majority vote from the square footage present, the gavel falls.
And then?
At that exact second, that resolution instantly transforms into a binding statutory financial obligation for every single unit in the building.
It does not matter if you voted vehemently against it.
Nope.
It does not matter if you were traveling for work and missed the meeting.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't even matter if you never checked your mailbox.
None of that matters. The collective majority binds the individual. If you ignore the AGM notice, you are actively choosing to let your neighbors vote to extract 50,000 baht from your personal bank account.
Which makes the co-owner's central argument so incredibly logical. You are attempting to build a heavy second story onto a foundation that the city inspector already told you is compromised.
Right.
If the fundamental legality of the first meeting is still actively disputed by the land office, how can a management company legally justify stacking brand new, aggressive financial collections on top of a broken system?
It defies basic fiduciary logic. You would expect that with hundreds of thousands of baht on the line for individual families, and with fundamental property transfer rates frozen across 80% of the building, the highly compensated professionals running the facility would be in absolute crisis communication mode.
Right. You'd expect town halls, detailed explanatory memos, transparent audits, it's just a flurry of activity to reassure the co-owners that their assets are protected.
Instead, there is a vacuum.
Just silence.
Which leads us to examine the behavior of the management company itself, because their response, or really lack thereof, is perhaps the most alarming aspect of this entire deep dive.
The entity managing River Heaven is identified in the sources as Smart Service Management, and they are not a small local outfit, right?
No, they are described as a leading national building management corporation. The co-owners of River Heaven pay a premium from their common funds precisely to hire a company of this caliber, specifically to avoid the kind of amateur administrative chaos that is currently unfolding.
And the sources detail that this co-owner didn't just casually complain to a security guard in the lobby. They formally petitioned Smart Service Management about every single mechanical failure we have discussed.
They compiled a comprehensive inquiry. They demanded answers regarding the duplicated database efforts. They asked for the disbursement receipts for the 30,000 baht common fund budget.
They highlighted the severe PDPA vulnerabilities of the Google form.
Yes. They formally questioned the legal authority to withhold debt-free certificates based on a voided AGM, and they challenged the legality of levying new compounding fees.
They submitted all this formally.
They did. And for over a month, Smart Service Management has provided zero written clarification, no emails, no official corporate memos, no audits, complete silence.
I mean, if my bank suddenly froze my primary checking account and I submitted a formal legal inquiry asking why, and the bank simply ignored my letters for 30 days, I wouldn't just be annoyed, I would be retaining a lawyer.
Absolutely.
This silence from a premium vendor is a glaring operational red flag. It forces you to wonder, are they simply overwhelmed and unprepared, or is this a calculated strategy of attrition? Like, are they just hoping the residents will get tired and quietly pay the fees once the July 26th vote passes?
To analyze that, we really have to look at the concept of fiduciary duty in corporate governance.
Okay, explain that.
The juristic person is a multi-million baht entity. When co-owners pool their capital to pay common fees, they are hiring a management company to act as a fiduciary. This means the company has a strict legal and ethical obligation to act in the absolute best financial and legal interests of their employer, which is the co-owners.
It is a relationship built entirely on legally mandated trust.
Exactly. Transparency is not optional. It is the core requirement of the contract. When a management company proceeds with a high-stakes annual general meeting, while actively suppressing or ignoring formal inquiries about the foundational legality of that very meeting, they are massively increasing the juristic person's exposure to future litigation.
It is managerial negligence.
It is.
If they are aware of the land office ruling and they are aware the residents are demanding proof of compliance, pushing forward with a vote that levies 100,000 baht fees is basically begging for a class action lawsuit from the residents down the line.
And that reality is exactly what drives the strategic conclusion of the co-owner's document. The silence from the management vendor dictates the necessary response from the co-owners.
Because if the professionals you hired refuse to protect the legal integrity of your asset, you are obligated to step in and do it yourself.
Precisely. Which brings us to the specific tactical approach recommended for the July 26th meeting.
Okay, so if you are one of the co-owners of the 521 units at River Heaven, your immediate objective is non-negotiable. You must physically attend the AGM on July 26, 2026. You just cannot afford to let the machinery run without you.
But physical attendance is only half the strategy. We need to synthesize the specific mindset and legal posture you must adopt when you walk into that room.
The document is very clear on this, right?
Yes, the source material is very careful to emphasize that this is not about hostility. You are not there to flip tables or scream into a microphone.
Because emotional outbursts accomplish nothing in corporate governance.
Exactly. You are there to demand strict procedural correctness. You are there to utilize a procedural tool known as a point of order.
Okay, walk us through how a co-owner mechanically executes a point of order in this context to basically stop a runaway train.
All right. Before any agenda items are introduced, before any financial presentations are made, and absolutely before any votes are cast regarding the new special collections, a co-owner must raise their hand, be recognized by the chair, and state a point of order on the record.
And what do they say?
You stand up and say, "Before we proceed with the business of this assembly, I formally request that the management provide physical proof that this meeting has been legally convened."
You demand the receipts before you let them open the store.
Exactly. You specifically demand to see the updated, government-certified master resident registry, and you demand the evidence of invitation delivery for every single unit as mandated by the Condominium Act.
Right, going back to the quorum.
Yes. You ask them to prove that the foundational jurisdiction of the room is mathematically and legally intact. If the management cannot produce that documentation on the spot, the meeting lacks legal standing and cannot proceed to a binding vote.
It is a brilliant clinical approach. It removes emotion and relies entirely on statutory requirements.
It does.
And the source document also outlines a secondary strategic maneuver that is incredibly sharp. It shifts the focus away from the silent management company and directly onto the condominium committee members.
This is a vital mechanism of accountability. The document includes what it terms a friendly reminder to the committee, and we really need to explain who the committee actually is.
Yeah, because the committee members aren't faceless corporate executives. They are usually your neighbors. They are fellow co-owners who volunteer their time to act as the board of directors, basically overseeing the management company on behalf of the juristic person.
Yes. They are volunteers, but the law does not grant immunity based on volunteer status. There is a legal concept known as corporate veil liability.
Okay, what does that mean in this context?
While a management company can be fired and they can simply walk away to their next contract, the committee members are the individuals whose actual signatures are on the binding legal documents submitted to the government.
Wait, so if the committee members sign off on a meeting or approve a set of financial resolutions that blatantly violate the Condominium Act, they can't just hide behind the management company's bad advice.
They cannot. If negligence can be proven, If it can be shown that they were made aware of the Land Office ruling, aware of the PDPA violations with the Google form, and aware of the illegal withholding of debt-free certificates, yet they still sign the documents authorizing the new fees, the corporate veil can be pierced.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The individual committee members can be held personally, legally liable for the damages inflicted on the other co-owners.
That is an incredibly sobering reality check. It shifts the dynamic entirely. It empowers you, the listener, to look at the committee, your neighbors, and say, look, the management company might be running this flawed process today, but if a massive lawsuit drops tomorrow, they will vanish, and you will be the ones holding the bag.
Exactly. It incentivizes the committee to hit the brakes and demand answers from smart service management just as fiercely as the rest of the residents.
It aligns the interests of the committee and the co-owners against the negligence of the vendor. It is a highly effective legal lever.
It really is.
So, to synthesize everything we have unpacked today, let's review the arsenal of knowledge you, the resident, now possess. You understand the mathematical mechanics of why a legal invitation is the absolute bedrock of a quorum.
Right.
You understand the deep PDPA vulnerabilities of bypassing government data security for a free internet form. You understand the severe legal overreach of a management company weaponizing your debt-free certificate over a disputed fee.
Yep.
And most importantly, you understand the compounding catastrophic financial math that will drain your bank account if you allow an illegal vote to pass unchallenged.
You are armed with the precise procedural tools to halt that process. You have the right to ask these questions openly on the official record, on the floor of the AGM.
Do not be intimidated by the bureaucratic setting.
No. Ask for the 30,000 bat receipt. Demand proof of the certified registry. Force the management to guarantee the legality of the room before you allow them to govern your finances.
Do not let a management company's administrative ambiguity permanently cement itself into your concrete financial burden. It is a perfect storm of operational negligence and escalating legal risk.
It is.
But the vital takeaway here is that this is a storm the residents have the absolute power to dissipate, simply by showing up, understanding the mechanics of the law, and refusing to be silent.
If we pull all of these intricate threads together and look at the macro perspective of property ownership, there is a fundamental concept I really want you to deeply consider as we close.
What's that?
When we purchase a condominium, our initial mindset is highly individualistic. We view it as acquiring an independent, isolated asset. We buy a private sanctuary, a suspended box of airspace that belongs exclusively to us. We lock our front door and assume our legal realm ends right there.
It is the ultimate illusion of total independence in a shared space.
It is, because the mechanical and legal reality of condominium living is profoundly different. When you sign that title deed, you are not merely buying real estate, you are legally binding yourself to a micro-democracy.
A micro-democracy. The concrete between the boxes is shared, and so is the liability.
Exactly. And just like any functioning democratic system at a national level, a micro-democracy demands active participation to survive. If you abdicate your role, if you ignore the bureaucratic notices taped to the elevator wall, if you skip the legislative sessions of the AGM, if you allow a third-party vendor to operate in absolute silence without audit or challenge, you are effectively signing a blank check.
You're handing total control of your most valuable financial asset to someone else, trusting they won't abuse the machinery.
Yes. The gears of that micro-democracy will continue to turn, regardless of your attendance. But if you aren't in the room to guide them, those gears might just churn right through your personal wealth.
So the ultimate question for every co-owner at River Heaven is incredibly clear. When the gavel finally falls in that meeting room on July 26th, will you be sitting at the table, wielding your legal power, or will you be on the menu?
Your voice is not merely a suggestion. It is a mathematical statutory force. Use it.
We hope this deep dive has given you the clarity and the tools you need to protect your community. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and we'll see you next time.